Hey everyone, Bigelow Reviews here. I am Brent Bigelow. We have a new album review for you. This is Jack Antonoff, aka Bleachers' new release, Take the Sadness Out of Saturday Night. This is Jack's third album under the moniker Bleachers. The first one being Strange Desires in 2014, and then the other one, my personal favorite, Gone Now, released in 2017. Jack's been rather busy the last couple years, releasing a lot of music for other musicians that have been highly popularized and very big and very important in the music industry, that being Taylor Swift's last couple albums, being Folklore and Evermore. You had Lord's Melodrama that released, that he produced a lot of the tracks on. Kevin Abstract solo project, where he did a lot of songs on there as well. And he's just an overall very busy man in the music industry, always releasing music, always busy in the studio, just putting in that constant work. And needless to say, I'm a big fan of his. I love his music. I like the vibe and all the energy that he puts into his tracks. It's all very retro, and it's pop music, but it's pop music with thought and a lot of... I'm very particular when it comes to my pop music. I'm a big critic on pop music, but when it's good stuff and I can tell that you're really you care and you put some thought and heart and love into it, I feel that pop music can really be some of the most transcending music that you can listen to. And Jack Antonoff's one of the greatest ones at that. But going into Take the Sadness Out of Saturday Night, Jack has released two singles in 2020, that being Chinatown and 45. Chinatown being one of my favorite tracks that he's probably ever released. That is my favorite song probably of this year, if we're going to consider it as off an album. Bruce Springsteen's featured on it, and just the vibe and energy of the song, and even just what Jack's singing about, and just being in the car driving with the one you love. It's a really passionate song, and just the pure energy and just vigor of the song is admirable. I love it. I love the track a lot, and honestly, it's one reason I would be coming back to this album. Even 45 was great. 91's another song on the album that's the opener that kind of sets a nice tone for what the album's going to be. 91 has a lot of string instrumentation in it. It's awesome. It kind of it bellows, it builds, and kind of dies down, and comes back again. It's a great, like I said, it's a great opening to the album, which is then followed by Chinatown, which we already know how I feel about that track. And then another single leading up into the release of this project, you had How Dare You Want More, which is feels like it was recorded live in a studio with a live band, everybody in the same room together. And it definitely sounds like that in some points. Multiple saxophones on this track. You have an alto and a tenor. I'm a big saxophone guy. I love a saxophone in a song. But there's something weird about the mix and how the song kind of came together. The mixing of the song sounds almost a little too raw and too real. When there's a part where they do a call and respond between the guitar and the saxophone, it almost sounds like you're sitting in the room, which is a really cool feature on the track, and how well Jack produced the whole thing. But it just kind of sounds a little off. It doesn't sound quite right. I don't know how to put that. Just in the context of an album and how everything else sounds, really, the way the song sounds in the context of the album makes it feel less produced. Which kind of comes with one of my major issues with the whole album. The mixing on the album, it isn't where it's supposed to be. There's some tracks on here that feel hushed and quiet, and I feel the need I have to turn my volume up to listen to it. But even then, just parts of the song and the layering and everything just kind of feels really separated in some instances. On the song Big Life, there's the lead melody guitar that's kind of playing in the just kind of jangling in the background. It just sounds so far away. It sounds almost too quiet. Even the percussion sounds really quiet. And then you have these big guitar swells go, and it's almost too much in your face. And then Jack's voice just feels separated too from the instrumentation as well. It just sounds way different than what you would expect from a Bleachers album. Secret Life is also another interesting track featuring Lana Del Rey. Lana Del Rey's sung duet part on the track, it's kind of hit or miss. You can hear it in some instances, and some you can't. You really have to be looking for Lana's voice to hear her pop through. Stop Making This Hurt was another one of those tracks that were released closer to the actual album release date that I really enjoyed also. That it reminds me of peak Gone Now era Jack Antonoff, where it's a straight up rock and pop track that's awesome. I love the song a lot. It's no Chinatown, but it's a great song. It's probably my second favorite song on the entire album. The chorus is great when he's talking about he wants the person who he adores just to kind of be gone and mean it. Just like go away. If you say you're leaving, goodbye, good riddance. Leave me alone. Don't Go Dark is another track on the album that just kind of, it's forgettable. It's alright. It's nothing too fantastic. Jack's vocal effects on that track are a little overdone. It's a little too much for my preference, but it's just kind of a forgettable track. 45 is a pretty rockin' acoustic track too. That was, like I said, like I mentioned earlier, was an early single released in 2020. It stands out on an album that doesn't have a lot of good songs on it, so it seems better than what it is. But like I said, it was released like forever ago, so we're kind of over it by now. And then again, like Don't Go Dark, the last two tracks on here being Strange Believer and What I Do With All This Faith, are just another couple tracks, sort of sad acoustic tracks that are easily forgettable. At least the mixing on these two tracks feels really strong and feels really authentic, and I feel like you can hear the sound of the instruments in Jack's voice way more than on songs I mentioned previously. But with an album that's only like 10 tracks long and a runtime of 34 minutes, you would expect a little more heat and a little more fire and way more focus on only 10 tracks compared to maybe an album of 12 or 15 that would be about a little closer to like 45 minutes long. There's a lot of these songs on the album that, like I said, that were released like forever ago, which are my favorite ones, where you could tell Jack kind of poured a different energy and a different passion, a different headspace into, compared to some of the newer songs that are featured on the album that are kind of like deep cuts on the album. They're just not to the same standard of what you would expect from Jack Antonoff. This probably is his weakest album, but it's contradictive because it has couple of my favorite songs that Jack's ever done, that being Chinatown. I love that track. But the album from beginning to end just isn't doing it for me. I give Take the Saddest Out of Saturday Night a 53. What do you guys think? Put your score down in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, share with a friend. Check the album out. Tell me what you think. And Biggie out.